Hey guys, we're back today with another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking to you about the Whopper Plopper. So this is one of the best baits that I've used this year. Something I've had the most success on across a bunch of different species of freshwater fish. So I'm going to talk about how I use it, different ways to use it, what it's good for, how you can retrieve it, how you can use it, and that kind of stuff. So if you guys have other tips and tricks on the Whopper Plopper, or just let me know down below in the comments. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Interested to hear that. So first off, let's talk about the different types. So obviously there's like River2Sea, I believe that's what this is. That's the original Whopper Plopper. There's been a few different companies that have come out with similar style plopper baits is kind of what they call them. There's the Chopo from Berkeley, which is good. You know, it's a little bit different action, but it's essentially the same lure. And then there's, you know, kind of the knockoffs, the cheaper versions. The thing is, this is very expensive. I believe it's $25 Canadian, no matter where you go to get them. I just ordered them off Amazon, and they are expensive from there, but I think it's worth it. I do think it's worth the money because you know, it's a hard body bait and it's just got the spinning prop on the end. So, I mean, they're pretty well bulletproof as long as you don't get them caught up or break them off or whatever. So, I like the River2Sea ones, even though they're more expensive. I feel like they're worth it. I mean, you can see the detail on it. Like they just look really good. And like the painting on them is nice. They're very, you know, very good quality on them. And yeah, so you know, there's different types of actions on different types of Whopper ploppers, right? So there's the loon style ploppers, which is more similar to a Berkeley Chopo kind of. This one does come from River2Sea as well. I really like this one, the shorter, fatter one, because it gives like, it makes a better bubble trail, which kind of helps attract the fish. And it's just got that really nice chop and plopping sound to it. So yeah, now let's talk about the fish you can catch with this. So you can catch, the cool thing about this lure is it works well for everything. I've caught little tiny dink bass, like 4 inches long, which was crazy to see because the plopper was almost bigger than the fish almost. And this is the smaller version too. So you can catch anything from little fish to the biggest thing I've ever caught on it was actually my first muskie. And it was about, you know, roughly 35, 40 inches, somewhere in that ballpark. So a fairly big fish. And he just engulfed this thing. It was just down in his throat. Just that plopping action, it just seems to attract everything. So there's, I think, you know, it's primarily, I would say it's a bass lure, but it works, I would say, equally well for pike and muskie, and the, you know, walleye I think don't typically bite topwater, so maybe not so much that. But I mean, this is kind of a catch everything style of lure, which is nice. For the money you spend on it, you don't want it to be specifically one thing unless you're a crazy, you know, muskie guy and you spend all this money on specific muskie baits. So good for everything. Great all-around lure. One of the best all-around lures. And now in terms of times when to use it, I find it's best in the spring. I did really well with it in right around now. Right around now, they say it's a good time for it. I personally have not caught, I don't think I've caught anything on this where I'm at anyways, but typically it's better for spring, fall, and then morning and nights in the summer. It was just like automatic. It was, if there was fish there, they were flying out of the water at this thing. So that's the type of fish you can get with it. That's the different, you know, styles of them. Now, where and how to use it. So it's, you know, basically the downside or some of the negatives of this lure is it can be very frustrating to fish, especially if, you know, it's like perfect conditions out, the water's nice and calm. That's what you want. Obviously you don't want a lot of waves if you're using a topwater lure. But the annoying thing about it is if there's one stupid little piece of grass, it will get caught up in this little propeller right in the middle there, and it will ruin the action. And it's very frustrating. And it always seems to happen on that first cast, like, you know, right in the perfect spot, right under the bridge, right first thing in the morning, nice calm water. you get that stupid weed stuck in the prop. So it can be very frustrating to use, but it produces. It simply produces. Now, some of the best spots where I use this is, like I just said, under bridges. Typically anywhere where there's bass, I mean, right? Like under bridges, along the edge of the weed line, I found was just awesome for big pike. I like using it in, you know, you can use it anywhere. You can use it shallow water, deep water, but I found it was an awesome lure for shallow rivers, which is what I fish a lot. I fish a lot of rivers and creeks and that kind of thing. And, you know, the water is super low here right now this time of year. So it's, you know, kind of topwater is really your only option. I actually just caught a monster bass, one of my biggest ever probably. Not on this, but on the chase baits, the smuggler, the bird lure, which was wild. Probably the coolest. Sorry, there's just a giant truck going by. That was probably the coolest eat I've, right up there with the muskie eating this thing. There's just something about topwater. It's just so exciting. It's so much fun. And yeah, there's really nothing like it. When you get, even when you're catching little bass on this, it's exciting. It's just so much fun. So there's different styles of ploppers. I've got the kind of the general, the I forget what the color, I think it's the perch color. So there's perch color. I've got a chrome one. I got an all black one. I think the color, honestly, it really doesn't matter. I think the profiles make a little bit of a difference, and you can kind of switch between. Like if the topwater bite is on, I'll probably have both of these tied on different rods. And, you know, it's just a little bit different sound, a little bit different setup. You can alternate between the two, so it's not just the same sound, the same bait that the fish are seeing. But yeah, it's great. And you can use it on any kind of rod. It's great with a bait caster. It's great with a spinning rod. You know, I would say the thing is, you don't necessarily need a leader with these, because typically when they bite it, they're not swallowing the whole thing unless it's a huge pike or a muskie. Luckily enough, when I caught the muskie, I just had a steel leader on anyways, and he still bit it. So, I mean, it doesn't mess up the action too bad with, like, if you're going to use like a wire leader, you know, something like this, you can get away with. And these are nice because, you know, if you catch something big, it's not going to break off. But it does kind of change the action a little bit from just sputtering across the water to he kind of angles up a bit. Or if you let it sink, he'll kind of sink a little bit. So it does mess up the action, kind of, but that's the trade-off. What I would do instead is, what I do on all my, basically everything, is just tie a fluorocarbon leader on instead. You know, it's a little bit more annoying of a knot to tie, but it, you know, you're not gonna have any issues. And if it does, you know, sink in front of it, it's gonna be invisible. So the way I like to throw it is I like to throw it and let it sit for a second. This is a type of bait where it's got really good action and it's really subtle. So you don't need to really do anything special with it. I mean, I found I've had the most success on it just straight retrieving. Sure, you can pause it, you can, you know, you can jerk it a little bit, you can twitch it, you can do all that stuff. I don't think you really need to. The only time I've ever done that with success, and it's just been because I've thrown it like over into a weed bed with like an open spot in the middle, and I'm just kind of like just pulling it for a sec. That you can get really good success with, but you know, if the weeds weren't there, I would just be straight pulling it, straight retrieving it. So yeah, kind of an all over the place video, but I just wanted to talk today about the Whopper Plopper because this is something I had the most fun with this summer. I had probably my most successful lure out of everything except for the mimic minnow. These guys right here, which I absolutely love. Funny enough, someone gave me one of these, and I've got a ton of lures, and I'd never tried one before. I was like, oh, I'll throw it on, and just crushed it. So save that for another day, another story. But the plopper, man, it's awesome. If you don't have one, you definitely, absolutely have to get one. It's got to be in everybody's tackle box. This has to be a tool that you're using. You know, it is expensive, but it's worth it. You know, everybody should have a River2Sea, just generic colored Whopper Plopper. They just work, man. They just work. They just produce. They're fun. The hits on them are super exciting. So let me know what you guys think of the Whopper Plopper down below in the comments. As always, thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.